Is homeopathy dangerous? Is it effective? Or is it a harmless placebo? That's the question we're going to pose in this very interesting conversation this evening. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Which one of us has not, from time to time, popped a white pill that we've been told for years by relatives, uncles, and aunts is harmless or is magically effective or is the one medicine that works wonders without any side effects? Homeopathy has many passionate advocates, many passionate practitioners. But now a new report is taking the conversation in a different direction. In fact, some doctors are calling for what they're saying is the defunding of homeopathy. A new report actually proceeded with a survey of patients that had been suffering from liver ailments and looked at how homeopathy was impacting them. It came to some very, very grave conclusions, including developments of jaundice, a detailed survey of what kind of compounds actually go into homeopathy, and in some cases, really, really dangerous consequences. This is a peer reviewed research paper, and we're going to be talking to the two men who've been leading the conversation on this subject online. Let me bring up our guests on the program today. We are joined by Dr. Cyriac Abbey Phillips. He's, of course, tweets under the name of the Liver Doc. It's good to see you, Doc. And also joining us is someone who calls himself an ex homeopathy doctor, Arif Hussain. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. Dr. Phillips, let me start by asking you, homeopathy, we've heard two things about homeopathy. We've heard that it's a wonder drug, a wonder genre of medicine, or we've heard, okay, even if it's a placebo, if it works, what's the harm? The argument that you are making is there is an actual harm. What is that actual harm? And is it all of homeopathy or is it only some homeopathic pills? Dr. Phillips, if we can start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Barka, for having us on your show. So, coming straight to that question, if you ask me, homeopathy in its classical form, as described in the classical texts, if you prepare it like that, it's basically water and milk sugar, which is quite harmless. But water and milk sugar is actually not effective for any disease condition. So what current practicing homeopaths do is that they actually give the mother tincture compounds, which are actually the very strong, potent, original compound molecules that they procure, which they eventually ultra dilute and make their formulations. But instead of diluting it, they directly serve these mother tinctures to patients and ask them to take it for a long period of time. So these mother tinctures essentially contain
And what is this
absolute.
mother tincture? What is mother
Yeah.
tincture?
Mother tincture is basically the starting compound in homeopathy, which is further diluted to its final form. You know, the homeopathy text, classical text says that you take a compound and dilute it so much that the ultimate dilutional format is actually more potent than the strong format. This is one of the illogical principles of homeopathy. So instead of diluting it, direct mother tinctures are being given to patients, which are actually strong alcoholic compounds containing various herbs and even animal parts like insects and cockroaches and things like that. So what happens is when patients consume this, they either develop alcoholic liver injury or they develop a herbal toxicity, which is an active ingredient in that particular mother tincture. So this is a direct toxic effect of homeopathy that we
And
discussed in
is
our
this
book.
and is this a corrosion of the original idea of homeopathy?
Exactly. This is actually not real homeopathy. And this is, I would say, it's an abomination of actual principles of homeopathy. Because, people I currently know, even homeopaths currently know that there is no point in serving people with ultra diluted forms which have no active compounds in it. It doesn't work. So what they do is they use these active compounds. I mean, Arif can definitely talk about that more. But they use these active compounds, and they eventually that actually leads to harming the patient. And this is exactly what we showed in our paper. Plus, they actually adulterate or contaminate it. For example, if you want to give a medicine for allergy, a homeopathic medicine for allergy, I would not call it medicine. I would call it formulation for allergy. What they would do is they would actually add steroids to it. So steroids do work in allergies. So that is
So
how it may. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to go to Arif in just a moment. But basically, you're saying homeopathy in its original undiluted form was harmless but ineffective, and homeopathy in the way that it is actually used today is actually specifically harmful. Now, Arif, you call yourself an ex-homeopathy doctor. I take that to mean that there was a time that you believed in homeopathy, you believed that it could be effective, you studied it, you used it. What changed?
uh, one more thing to add on to that, that after realizing that it is ineffective and it's not working, and there's no scientific backing, I even tried on my own what do you say uh, means, that whether there is any way out to make it scientific and to show to the people that it is really scientific. Even I did that. So it's in a word, it's totally a wasteful exercise, where we are wasting all our human resource, even our public funds and all other
How
things.
did
So
you go from being a believer to being a skeptic to then being an opponent, Arif?
back in 2010 or 2009 onwards, we know that there was no much internet facilities that the way we are seeing today. So even during that time, I was looking for information online, and I happened to see a video where the people from outside India, specifically from an organization called 1023 Homeopathy, there's nothing in it. I could see a few people coming to the city centers in front of some of the homeopathic pharmacies and standing there, and they were just taking homeopathic pills in a large congregation. People were coming there together and doing that. So I was really wondering if they can take that kind of medicine in such a manner, and that to homeopathic pills, and they were telling that homeopathy, there's nothing in it. That's what they were proclaiming. That even that video is still available online. And I was just imagining, because people used to come to us and telling us that, oh doctor, I purchased the medicine from you, and after going back to home, my kid took all the medicine. So what should I do? So I was really perplexed, like what to say to them, that there's no problem after taking all such medicine, or to say them there might be some problem. But after watching that video, I was truly clueless,
Yeah.
and I just started telling that there's nothing going to happen. You just
So,
stay there.
so
Yeah.
I want you to, Arif, first you and then Dr. Phillips, tell us about this study. And we went through some of the key points, but you can explain them better. Now, this study, as I understand, involves patients who already were battling liver ailments. Am I first correct about that? Let me ask Arif. Arif?
Yeah, we were seeing these complaints in people who were already having some sort of liver diseases, or they were prone to some liver diseases, but they were thinking that these medicines could be harmless, and they were taking all such medicines. So that can lead to more dangers in people who are thinking that way, imagining that this could bring some goodness to them, maybe some sort of protective effects for their diseases, maybe just like preventing COVID or some diseases like that. So that's what we were seeing here. Yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Phillips, if you had to sort of look at this study and say what sort of leapt out at you, I was going through some of the key findings. I'm obviously not a medical expert, but this bit about all the patients surveyed developed jaundice, that really leapt out at me. Why do you think that happened?
When we actually did the study, we looked at all patients who had a history of acute hepatitis with jaundice that was linked to a drug. So we ruled out all other causes for acute hepatitis and jaundice. For example, we know that modern medicine also causes jaundice. So we ruled all that out. And ultimately, we came to this small group of patients who actually had jaundice because of homeopathic formulation intake. And the jaundice is a direct link to severe liver cell damage. So that is why these patients have jaundice. It's because of liver failure. And a group of these patients did not have any pre-existing liver disease. A group had pre-existing liver disease. And the ones who did not have pre-existing liver disease, we could actually manage them with supportive care. And the ones who developed jaundice or homeopathic liver injury on top of an underlying liver disease, actually some of them died. So we show that about 40% of our patients in the series died without a liver transplant. So the jaundice was directly linked to homeopathic formulation related
So
liver
this
toxicity.
jaundice was not exacerbated, it was caused by the toxins that were in the homeopathic drug. But why were they being
Exactly.
given that homeopathy to begin with?
So they were given homeopathy for various other causes. For example, management of kidney stones, management of fatty liver, as a preventive for COVID-19. A lot of people have used this homeopathic drug called Arsenicum album 30C, and some of
Yes.
our patients actually had these as preventive for about 6 months and more, and developed liver injury because of that. And there is no evidence that arsenicum album actually prevents or reduces COVID-19 in our population. And the homeopathic medicines were taken for specific symptoms also. For example, some patients had gas trouble, in colloquial terms, if you call it, and some had actually fatty liver. And they were taken for other reasons, but developed liver injury because of the toxic components.
Now, Arif, Dr. Phillips explained that this is not homeopathy in its original form. This is a corrupted version of homeopathy. If homeopathy were being practiced in its original form, that's how I grew up, occasionally being given it by a grandparent, by an aunt and uncle. Why don't you take, what was it? Arnica. Arnica, I think, was the sort of homeopathy of choice when we were growing up for an injury or so on. If the pill is not diluted, is it harmful or is it then just a placebo? What is it then?
Yeah, that exactly is what we found in our study. That is, this is exactly the same statement almost every individual, almost every layman is making. That is, at least it is harmless. There's no problem in taking that. It is a sugar pill or it's just a plain some kind of liquid. But the thing that we have found here is that due to the improper manufacturing standards and the lack of such proper manufacturing standards, there are many other adulterants and many other industrial compounds getting into these medicines, and that can really damage your internal organs, especially your liver. That's what we have seen here. It's not just the mother tincture that is harming you. Even the other compounds getting into the medicine during the process of manufacturing, that can also lead to dangers and injuries. That's what we have seen. So we cannot say that it is a gentle placebo. It's a dangerous placebo.
And that's what I want to come to in my second set of graphics. And Dr. Phillips, you can help us go. Sorry, I muted myself by mistake. I was saying that's what I want to go through in our second set of graphics, which is what is in this. And your study found that 156 unique compounds have been identified in these homeopathic remedies, which you believe are have to be called not remedies but formulations. And among them, what Arif just mentioned, heavy metal industrial solvents were traced in several of these homeopathic pills. And Dr. Avi, you in particular have found alcohol, a high degree of alcohol content in one particular sort of homeopathic prescription. And in another syrup that you say is often prescribed by homeopaths, there is traces of dead cockroaches, right? So let's talk about the ingredients. What are we actually talking about, Dr. Phillips?
I mean, when you look at the dilution, the vehicle that homeopaths use to dilute the medicines, the mother compound, it can either be water or a milk sugar base, that is lactose, or it could be alcohol. So basically, the diluting agent that they use is alcohol. So we had recently, right after the study, we had a placebo project, a new project that we are doing now, where we looked at all the alcohol-based homeopathic products and analyzed them and found out that they did not have any active ingredient except for alcohol, which is pure alcohol, 90%, which is what is been prescribed right, left, and center by homeopaths to even children and infants. So what they do is they actually prescribe homeopathic medicines either diluted in alcohol, which is basically ultimately alcohol being served, or it is just milk sugar. So you are lucky if you get milk sugar, you're unlucky if you get alcohol.
And there's a question from the live stream which says, what is the proof that homeopathy doctors use steroids? Like, how did you reach this conclusion, if you want to answer that?
You can actually see a supplementary data that we have provided of our analysis in the study, which shows each and every drug that we have analyzed and their analytical results, which shows that there is presence of steroids like betamethasone, dexamethasone, and even prednisolone. So it is that we have identified it, and it is not something new. This is already known that homeopathic drugs or formulations are adulterated with steroids, and this has been published in multiple peer-reviewed papers since last many decades.
Now, Arif, the question would be that if homeopathic medicines or formulations have dangerous side effects, as both of you argue, so does allopathy. Steroids is a key example of something that was overused during COVID. I personally was prescribed them and suffered a lot of complications because of them. So, and then the overuse of antibiotics today, antibiotics being prescribed for every viral fever under the so-called branch of secondary infections. Everybody's being given antibiotics when they have a viral flu. So is homeopathy the problem, or the practitioners and how they're using homeopathy the problem? Arif?
I think I can give a clear picture by giving out an analogy. That is, if I give you a picture or a pot, and I say you that there is a scorpion, a deadly scorpion in it, so be careful while searching for something inside that pot. You can search inside the pot, and you can be careful. But at the same time, if by any chance the scorpion bit you, you can take the antidote by knowing that, oh, I got a bite from a scorpion. But at the same time, I give you a pot without telling you what is in it, and just take it, and you get a bite from something, and you don't know what it is, and you are trying to save yourself from that. How would you come out of that? So this exactly is what is happening here. When you take a modern medicine, whether it be a steroid, whether it be an antibiotic or any drug, and if something goes wrong, you know what is going wrong, and it is easy to come out of that. But when you go with any of these Ayush treatments, especially homeopathy and Ayurveda, you are totally unaware of what is going on, and you are unable to come out of that dangers and that injuries. And we have also seen papers, and we have our own publications where we have clearly shown that the mortality rate in people with such injuries from other causes like these Ayush systems, like complementary and alternative systems, is more than what we see from the modern medicines. So that is exactly what is going on here, and that's what we are trying to expose. Yeah.
Okay, here's my question to you, Dr. Phillips. We think today of homeopathy as a kind of Indian phenomenon because of how easily available it is. Every neighborhood in India, has a local homeopath that you can go to and pick up pills from. But actually, homeopathy originated in Germany. When you have looked at the use of homeopathy and how it is used, do you find any global parallels? Is this a global phenomena, the kind of love and the sort of faith in homeopathy, or is this something you find unique to India?
So I think it is all over the world, and a common bond that everybody loves homeopathy is because of anecdotal experiences. There is no evidence or any actual scientific evidence that for anybody to actually showcase when it comes to homeopathy. And you can actually see that a lot of people through word of mouth, even homeopathy practitioners, use patients' anecdotal experiences, make videos or make posts, and use that to gather other patients. It's not because of scientific evidence. So I think the reason why people in India and Kerala where we are from, Kerala is a very strong hold of homeopathy love among the people here. And that is because homeopaths know exactly what to treat. They will treat only diseases that are self-limiting. They will know that this disease is going to go away and they're going to be safe. Ask them to treat a proper stage 1 or stage 2 liver cancer. Ask them to treat a bacterial pneumonia or even a tick bite fever. They would not do that because they know it requires real medicine. So that is how homeopathy gets propagated. It's because of anecdotal experiences and patient experiences and stories.
Okay, I have a couple of minutes left to you, Arif, first, because you've been a practitioner, right? At which point, I know you watched that video and your eyes opened, but when you were a practitioner, right? Obviously, you'd been trained, you had bought into it, you believed it, and then you started getting this adverse sort of feedback. What would you say to fellow practitioners in the community today?
Only one thing that I still say to them is that please don't make undue claims of effectiveness, because there are two reasons for that. One is for a scientific mode of treatment or a scientific system, claims are not required. There is no need of any kind of testimonies or any kind of anecdotal evidence to prove that something is effective. If something is effective, just provide the evidence. The claims are not the things that is required. And the second thing is, if you need to promote something, especially your system of practice, maybe whether it be homeopathy or it be any other systems like Ayurveda, please do it by projecting your usefulness, not by telling that it is against something chemophobia, something related to that. That's what I was trying to add to the point that was made earlier by Dr. Abby. That is, one of the main reasons why all these things are thriving even today is due to this single factor, that is chemophobia. People are afraid of these chemicals, and they think that every medicine is chemical, and they just forget that the air that they are breathing in is also a chemical. So these are the two things. Please don't propagate chemophobia, and please don't rely on these undue claims. Please stop making these kind of anecdotal evidence. We require real evidence. Yeah.
But that's a great point. And Dr. Abby, let me give you the last word because your Twitter comment actually said defund. It's time to defund homeopathy. And I think Arif makes a great point. There's a kind of leaning today towards anything that is described as organic, natural, the whole sort of naturopathy fad, if you want to call it that. But also there's a legitimate sort of corrosion. Look at the air we breathe in the cities we live in. Look at the processed food we consume. So there are some genuine concerns. And that's why all our lives we've been told that homeopathy is that one thing which won't hurt. Now you're actually arguing that it will. But there are people who might say, suppose I have that uncorroded homeopathic pill, that milk and sugar pill. And even if it's a placebo, if it does me no harm and it makes my mind stronger, what's the harm? What would you say to those people? Because you must have heard this argument that even if it's a placebo, if it doesn't cause harm and it helps me, why not?
Yeah, I mean, the first point is that placebo is not a medicine. Even if we are giving somebody an actual medicine, there is an inherent placebo effect in it. So a placebo is not a medicine. It actually means that there is a feeling that it is a medicine, and that is exactly what homeopathy is. And you can actually do that even without it. For example, you don't have to spend money on things that do not actually work. And most important is that if people come and ask me that this actually made me better. So what is a big deal? The whole point is that it made you feel better because you are supposed to feel better at some point, given the time. And homeopathy actually did not do anything to it. And the whole idea of defunding homeopathy, I think that is what scientifically progressive countries do. So if India wants to be a scientifically progressive country, or India thinks that it is a scientifically progressive country, then it has to actually defund or save public money from wastage by applying it into a complete dangerous placebo like homeopathy, where the birthplace of homeopathy, Germany, is actually defunded it. France has defunded it. The NHS does not give public funds to homeopathy. So why not India? Why do we carry it? We can use that money for the public health in other good ways and better ways.
Well, I think your paper is going to start a very important conversation because a lot of people just consume homeopathic pills unthinkingly. I know it happens in so many homes that I personally know of. So thank you for starting this conversation, to Dr. Abby Phillips and to Arif Hussain, an ex-homeopathy doctor. Thank you for your time, and we'll follow this up as you present and place more research into the public domain. Take care and thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism. Chalo Sumit, all done, all clean.